Hello, Steve Pippinger here again of Pippinger Law Offices. I wanted to discuss something. It's an issue that came up recently with a client. Many of you who know something about starting a business in New York have heard of the entity called an LLC, also called a limited liability company. Now, most states, it's a very easy, particularly customizable form of business to start. New York and actually just a couple other states have this really strange requirement that you have to publish the existence of an LLC in a newspaper. Actually, it's two newspapers in New York State in the county where the LLC is located. I recently had a client who was trying to determine whether or not to start the LLC in Delaware or in New York. And this person eventually started the LLC or founded the LLC or established the LLC in Delaware. I informed the client, I said, you still have to publish. And the client had said to me, well, I've heard conflicting views on that, which I thought was kind of a strange answer, but that's an answer. Now, as dumb, frankly, or as odd as this publishing requirement is, it is still a requirement. And in fact, even if you are what's called a foreign LLC, which is an LLC established in another state, if you have a physical presence in New York, you still have to publish. Where do you publish? Many corporations, as you probably know, have their incorporation in Delaware, but their physical place of business, where they're physically located, is in another state. A lot of companies, corporations are in New York physically, but incorporated in Delaware. The LLC works the same way. You can form your LLC in Delaware, for instance, in this particular instance. Yet, because the LLC has a physical location in a particular county in New York, the law still requires that the LLC publish. Now, normally you might think, well, what's the big deal? And certainly it's not a huge deal if, in fact, the LLC has a location outside of New York City. If it's outside of New York City, it can add a few $100s to the establishment of the company. In any event, it's still another step, a hassle to put in a newspaper, to publish in a newspaper for 6 weeks, one in a weekly, one in a daily, the existence of the LLC. Doesn't make much sense, particularly in the days where we find ourselves with the internet and the establishment of so many LLCs. So it seems kind of a silly thing, and frankly it is. However, for LLCs that may establish themselves in Delaware but are located anywhere within New York City, the publication costs can be quite expensive, ranging upwards up to $1,000 to $2,000, depending on which county within New York City the LLC is established, or not established, but located. So, what it comes down to is this. New York has this odd rule that you have to publish in a newspaper in the county where your LLC is the existence of the LLC. This can add a moderate to a significant cost to just establishing the LLC before you even get started. The problem is, or the issue is, not that you don't have to publish the LLC if you're a foreign LLC, but that you do have to publish if you're physically located in New York State. I know it's a silly requirement. I know it's a requirement that many people think is not fair, and really superfluous and really meaningless. And again, those are probably all true things. But my job here is to not, of course, pass the laws. My job is to help you, as a person who wants to start a business or who has started a business, to stay within the lines of what the law requires. Now, why is this publication important? It's important because if a company doesn't publish, that company does not have a right to bring a lawsuit against another company. Now, why might that be important? Many business people are like, I don't want to go to court. I don't want to be in court. I don't want anything to do with court. Fine, I understand it. However, when a customer doesn't pay you, if you are an LLC located in New York State, whether you're a foreign LLC or a domestic LLC is one that was established in New York State, you could not bring a court action to collect from a non-paying customer if in fact you had not published. Now, the way you cure that is you publish, and then you go after that, or should I say, you bring a suit to pursue that person, or at least the threat is there. If that person were to not pay and somehow find out that you hadn't published, they could use that against you. And if you brought a suit, they would know that. They could use that as an absolute defense, in all likelihood, to your bringing that suit and collecting that payment. The flip side of that is if you are sued, if somebody else sues you as an unpublished LLC, you can still defend. You just can't bring it. So while it may seem like a silly step, a ridiculous expense, it is something that the state requires, and it is something that is advisable so that at the very least you can actually enforce contracts in the state. That's really the purpose of doing it, or the purpose of me advising people to do it. So I wanted to give a little tip about the publication of an LLC because there seemed to be a little bit of confusion as to who actually had to do it and who actually didn't have to do it. That gives a little bit of an answer to it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at 646-405-7360, or you can you can email me at steve@pippingerlaw.com, or visit the website at www.pippingerlaw.com. Either way, I'm here to help. I'm here to provide a service to my clients, and hopefully that's you. Thank you. Have a great day.